Hey guys, it's Gunrunner7271. You know, there's been a couple of incidences involving football players lately, and I kind of wanted to take some time to weigh in on what is very tragic events surrounding football players. And I'm going to have some pointed comments about Mr. Jason Whitlock and Bob Costas. You know, Mr. Whitlock is a black man. I would think that the right to bear arms would be very important to you for some very obvious reasons. You know, as a person of color, speaking from one person of color to another person of color, it's the only thing that keeps you a free man and not an enslaved man. Oh, that's never going to happen. You know, what are you talking about, slavery? Sir, I beg to differ. It's already happened once. And those who don't study history are doomed to repeat history. You know, I carry around with me on a daily basis, and I don't agree to everything the Heritage Foundation does or says, but you can't misrepresent the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution of the United States. It's very clearly written many different ways, black and white. You know, Mr. Whitlock, you wrote a lot of comments and said a lot of stuff about the KKK and the NRA, and you know, once you get your foot out of your mouth, I'm sure you're going to find that there are many black gun owners and black NRA members. I'm going to read to you now the Second Amendment, and then I'm going to break it down for you, Mr. Whitlock, a person of color, from one person of color to another person of color. Amendment 2, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, at the time this was written, Mr. Whitlock, we were going through a war with Great Britain. We were separating ourselves. The separation of church and state came into play, and there were certainly some taxation issues without proper representation. But these guys were smart enough. They didn't consider you and I to be a full man. We were 3/5 of a man. But they were smart enough to know that they needed to be an armed society for the protection of themselves and their way of life here in the United States. It goes on to say to keep and bear firearms. It doesn't specify as to what firearms or for what purposes. I can tell you though, you're a black man. I'm a person of color myself. I feel comfortable at night knowing that I'm never going to be a slave again because other people like me have guns. It keeps us free from tyranny, from slavery, often running hand in hand, tyranny and slavery. But as a person of color, you know, if you don't study history, sir, you're doomed to repeat it. I don't care about people getting shot at the local 7-Eleven. Yes, it's tragic. It's very tragic. It's incredibly tragic. I'm not sure that you're correct in the assumption that if Mr. Belcher didn't have a gun, he would have still been alive today. You see, because people like that, they're going to get the job done. If you shoot a woman 9 times in a domestic dispute, that would suggest rage. Some speculate by steroids, some speculate crime of passion, some speculate a whole lot. The facts of the matter are indisputable. He shot her 9 times, and any head shrinker can tell you that signifies rage. If you have that much rage towards someone that you love, you're going to find a rock, a stick, whatever it takes, a knife, whatever it takes to get the job done. Now, before you open your mouth again and stick your foot in it, I represent a member of the NRA. That's it. I'm a person of color and I belong to the NRA. Been a member for 20 years. I don't understand what your connection to the KKK is. Are you implying that this person is of color as a member of the KKK? Take issue with that. Bob Costas, you're an idiot for even bringing it up. You're an idiot for putting it on national TV, and you keep sticking your foot in your mouth. Is your head up your butt for the warmth? This week, we had a situation with two Dallas players, one of them ending up dead. The other one ending up alive, walking away with not a scratch on him. Facing murder charges, vehicular homicide. By your buddy's logic, your buddy being Mr. Whitlock, we should probably fault cars. Or, let me think here, distilleries. I don't understand. Maybe it's, God forbid, a problem with the NFL. Because I didn't hear either one of you two bozos talk about the other people in Kansas City that got shot and killed that day. I didn't hear any one of you other bozos talking about how many other people had car accidents and got killed in Dallas that day. It's appalling to me that you stand in judgment and you're on your high horse about the root to all these problems, but you offer no suggestions other than, let's get rid of the guns. Well, while we're at it, let's get rid of the cars. Or, let's get rid of the glass plant that made the bottle. Or, let me think, it can go on. Let's get rid of the steel companies that made the steel for the guns. You guys are idiots. You're idiots, and I tell you what, the only way that we're going to deal with people like you is to get you off the air and to get you off our columns. Because when you start passing judgment on things like this, you're no longer sportscasters, you're no longer sports columnists. You are all of a sudden a political figure, and you're subject to all of the wrath of the people based on your decisions. So, Mr. Whitlock, let's get back to you. You know, people of color should bear firearms because it's what keeps them safe from slavery. All people should bear firearms because it's what keeps them safe from tyranny. It's very clear here in the Constitution that's what it's about. If you have any questions, I suggest you read the Constitution and then get back to me, and we can have a gentleman's discussion on how to interpret the Constitution. Because, you know, my father told me, son, if you never want to be a slave again, you should probably arm yourself. If you never ever study history, you're doomed to repeat it. Mr. Whitlock, I think you've lost sight of a lot of things. I really have. And I hope that you wise up quickly. Because an armed society is a polite society. Yes, you will always have those errant tragedies. But I'll take those errant tragedies and I'll try to make good judgments so that we can change those and not snap judgments and point the finger at the modus operandi. Because humans for a long time have been very capable of killing themselves without the aid of a firearm. Certainly in this instance, you can't guarantee that this young lady would have been safe had there not been a firearm involved. I suggest strongly to you that this character was going to get the job done, no matter what. The guys who set out to drink and drive, knowing that the NFL has a policy that there's drivers available for them so that they can drink and enjoy themselves, well, that's just plain stupid. So you can't blame the bartender, the alcohol factory, you can't blame anybody. I hear there was a heated discussion between he and Jerry Jones. If I'm Jerry Jones, I'm pissed. I'm pissed because you just took a life and you're still running around playing on my football field. I'm pissed because you just cost me a lot of money. I'm pissed because you didn't use good judgment and you're a freaking adult, and that's the bottom line. We don't pay you to go out and drink. We don't pay you to do anything but play football. And when it comes over the line of taking another person's life because you're too stupid to call the service that is provided to you, well, then you are an idiot. Bob, I don't hear you talking about that. Jason, don't hear you talking about that. Where you at, boys? Tell me. The next time I see Bob Costas on TV, I would hope that all other Americans do the same thing I do. Turn the TV off.